Hey guys, Sean from Rest to Live here. We're still doing our end of the year special editions here. So let's jump right in to a pretty hot topic that I'm going to flow some financial information behind in a second here. But first and foremost, I don't know if I'm surprised what I was expecting, but Jake Paul just fought Woodley for a second time. First time we know Paul took the win. Listen, I got to say it. I was a boxer. My grandfather was a boxer. Jake Paul might be the real deal here. I'm not saying he's going to be a world champion boxer, but I got to say it. He knocked Woodley out. I mean, that wasn't a lucky punch. That wasn't I'm learning how to box. That wasn't not a boxer fighting people who don't know how to fight. That was knockout power. It was a knockout punch against a guy who may not be a boxer, but he's a fighter, and the dude can take some damage. So I'm starting with this because it really got me thinking about what I want to talk about tonight. If you haven't seen the knockout, check it out. It's everywhere. It's on Twitter. It's on ESPN. It's all over YouTube. So no need to repost it here. And I know people hate this, and I know people hate it. The boxing game, when they talk about this stuff, they say he's not a boxer. He's not fighting real boxers. Listen, where we are today in the world of boxing, in the world of combat sports, it's about the ability to put your hands up, have knockout power, and frankly, make some marketing dollars come in. So let's call it what it is. The dude's in a ring. He's got gloves on and he's boxing, and he's knocking people out now who have, at least as we know, pretty good chins. So like him or hate him, the dude's for real at this point. I never thought I'd say that. I literally just did a video the other day, and I have still have my gloves like nearby in my office even because it's been a little while and I have gray hair that wasn't there before. But listen, I'll fight Jake Paul for that kind of money. I don't care how fast he knocks me out. But let's call it what it is. The sport might be making a comeback, and that's got me thinking about where I have opportunities there, where the opportunities are in that space. I think about the kind of gyms that are opening up. I think about the fact that fitness is looking at boxing and even fighting as a new way to do things. But I also was thinking about celebrity endorsements and how they're getting sort of out of control, frankly, right? I'm still seeing Chuck Norris pushing his exercise equipment. Now I'm looking at this thing, you strap it onto your wall, you pull some levers down, whatever, and they've got LeBron James on there. And I'm thinking to myself, like, LeBron, this guy's enormous, and he's been working out and training his whole life. He doesn't use some in-home silly thing that was just created. Like, it's so absurd to me. Or even, oh my gosh, a rowing machine the other day with Kaepernick. And I'm thinking, like, what? Come on, man. Like, I understand you want to use celebrities to drive your products, and that we as people who are investors and traders are looking for opportunities to get into these projects, whether it's pre-IPO or in the public markets or wherever it is. But the reality is there's just a lot of misses here. Listen, whether you love or hate Colin Kaepernick, the dude doesn't make me want to buy a rower. Whether you love or hate LeBron James, there's nothing about this guy that makes me think he works off of a machine on his wall in his house when he's already coming to the end of his career and doesn't need this thing. And listen, Chuck Norris too, man. The guy's making his money, but holy moly, he's getting pretty old, and it's not really, it's not that exciting to watch him working out. And, we see this in other markets too. You've got Matt Damon pushing crypto.com on every other YouTube video that I watch. And it really has me saying to myself, we are in an ultra hyper marketing world where we have to put a face on everything to differentiate from the crowd. And that's really what this is about today, is as I'm thinking about where I'm looking for opportunities right now, and this isn't meant to be holistically the one place or the two places I'm looking, but I'm really looking at a brand's ability or a company's ability to get above the noise and separate themselves from from their peers. And they're doing it in creative ways, frankly, right? They're getting more and more celebrities to endorse their products. This is nothing new, but it's new in a sense that, like, you've got Matt Damon pushing crypto.com and you've got Tom Brady and Giselle pushing FTX, right? Like, that's wild. We all know that's not where they made their money. Like, we know that's not where they made their money. So to me, those are endorsements that are meaningless to me. That doesn't make me believe in those companies. In fact, frankly, I feel like it's pandering, and pandering is not what I'm looking for, because I don't think pandering holds long-term divisive wealth, right? The ability to really grow with that and understand where that market's going to go. So when I start to think about this and I think about boxing, what I start to think about is a guy like a Jake Paul, right? Controversial, young, famous. A lot of people know who he is. I can ask my kids who he is, and I can ask people who are my age who know who he is, right? And maybe the opinions will be varied and wild. But the guy's got a name brand. It's currently approaching the boxing world, or is I guess I should say is in the boxing world and bringing some attention to the boxing world. And, even in the heavyweight divisions, we've got guys like Tyson Fury just tearing it up. I mean, These dudes are monsters. These are monsters of men who are out there clobbering away, who move not like heavyweights of the past. They actually move pretty well, you know. I think that what I'm seeing is more and more of these are being played on TV, which means more commercial time, which means more products being advertised during these commercial times. And I'm looking to understand where I can make investments in this space specifically because I can see a good little bit of growth coming back to the market here. And I think that what people love to do is they love to hate maybe the face of the game. In this case, I'm going to just keep picking on him here for a second, but like Jake Paul, he is talking a lot. He is spitting it at everybody. But the reality is he's kind of winning the matches and he's kind of creating a really big brand for himself in the boxing game. Again, the whole argument of like he's not fighting real boxers, he's selling tons of products, right? How do we get into this? How do we get onto it? How do we understand what this does for us investors? So let's bring this back to some reality here. As I'm looking at a shortened week ahead here before Christmas in the US, I'm not going to be doing much trading or investing. I'm going to be really thinking about what I've got to plan for the new year. I'm thinking about tax loss harvesting. I'm thinking about where I can take some income off the table by capturing some of my losses that are sitting in my portfolio right now. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm offering neither tax or financial advice here, but I do want to just put it out that if you are looking for opportunities to take losses, this is typically when we see those. I covered the January effect in another video. The idea behind the January effect is that typically people will take losses at this time of the year in late December because of the wash sale approach, which means they can't just buy them right back. They have to wait a little bit of time. What we typically will see is we'll see some selling in December and some buying towards late January, maybe early February also. So just be aware of that. And because of this, and because I'm taking some money off the table, I'm thinking about where else I want to deploy. I'm getting kind of creative. I'm thinking about different brands. I'm thinking about brands that are in the boxing game. I'm thinking about brands that support that. But I'm also thinking about brands that are getting in on advertising, right? This is the real derivative side of this, is we're drawing a whole new fan base to a sport that was sort of falling out of favor, frankly, right? Like the days of my grandfather coming over from Ireland and fighting 7 days a week, those days are gone, right? These are now about how many butts can we put in the seats at home in front of a screen and sell big and wide. The guys like Money Mayweather understood this at scale, but now it's even more so because it's on YouTube, it's on Twitter, it's being talked about a million times for free. So if we can find out that amplification effect and find a way to get that into our investing strategy, I think there's lots of gains to be had there. So some of the things I'm really paying attention to or looking to get even more insight into, frankly, for that matter, is where and when and how can I look to see who's going to be advertising that's a unique brand or a well-known brand or a brand that I'm looking to get into but maybe haven't had what I need for it to be popular enough. And I think if there's any brands who are thinking about this or anyone who works in marketing who ends up watching this, I think this is a good opportunity to think about the fact that you might have a whole new audience here that you are traditionally not getting in front of. When the UFC first started getting really famous, we were seeing a lot of the same kind of thing as the energy drinks, the beef jerky, all these kind of things. And a lot of them were name brands I had previously not heard of or hadn't seen anywhere. And now I go to a convenience store and they're sitting on a shelf. Now, that doesn't mean that they're selling well. It doesn't mean that they have margins, but there is a connection to huge and widespread audiences and the ability to capture attention and some dollar value from that. They have to still run the company well, and the numbers still have to make sense. But that said, like this is really the thought process that I'm having as I think about this. So what I really wanted to encourage everyone to do here was think about things always in terms of how you're researching, how you're growing, and how you're spreading your investments. But specifically, if you're looking for opportunities, especially in the new years, and there's a lot of stuff grabbing our attention from the metaverse to the pandemic and everything else that's on the news. It's like, there's a million different things in a million different places. Oftentimes the opportunities are the ones that no one else has found yet. And that's where the arbitrage really lives for us to make those outsized gains. So much the same way Jake Paul is currently going in and knocking these folks out, I'm looking to find a big knockout within the marketplace that no one else has gotten in front of. I think that what I'm going to be paying attention to is more and more of these sort of like widespread, celebrity kind of fights are going on. Is who are the advertisers? How are they going to market? Who's connected to them? Who's investing in them? Who are the owners? What do those owners own? Who's going to end up carrying those brands, selling those brands? Who could acquire those brands? Those are the kind of things I'm looking for. Additionally, from the media side, it's really interesting to see the way these are coming out. Like, we saw Trilla and we then see HBO and then we see Showtime and we see everybody fighting for the dollars on pay-per-view. And I just wonder myself, who's going to ultimately reap this reward? And, when I think about it, I'm thinking like YouTube and by extension, I'm thinking Google. because when you own the entire experience, it's an amazing thing. But then, like, I think, like, well, wait a minute, are you missing something even bigger here? I think, like, in virtual reality, augmented reality, can I put on a pair of goggles and feel like I'm actually sitting ringside with that, like, real experience, more than an avatar, but like really watching that fight? And then I start to think, like, boy, could Meta slash Facebook, right, bring that to us, bring that to me? And that's what I really want to do in 2022, is kind of work with everybody here and start thinking, like, how do we go deeper? How do we go 6, 7, 8 layers into the progress here to understand who's the ultimate winner in that fight for capital, in that attention grabbing, and then ultimately grab for dollars? So I'm going to give you just an example here as I end my call for the week. Huge fight like a Jake Paul versus whoever is next. I don't even know who the guy's going to fight anymore, frankly, but let's just say that comes next. And you can throw on a pair of goggles and watch it seemingly ringside, pay for the price of a ticket because it's going to be about the same either way, whether it's pay-per-view or you wear your goggles. And, maybe I want to buy things, right? Maybe they're connecting NFTs to it. Maybe they're connecting experiences. Maybe you can bid on things from the match, a pair of gloves, an autograph. I don't know, anything. Lord knows it could be anything nowadays. And I think that the opportunities start to become, like, really boundless. Like, can I order a real pizza while I'm watching it from within my augmented reality? Well, sure. I think that's very doable. We're seeing that stuff happen already. But am I tweeting directly from the metaverse? Am I having deliveries from DoorDash come to my door? Do I then have to even worry about grabbing an Uber because I'm at home anyways? And I think that there's just some really, really, really cool things. If you take the time to think about it, the opportunities could be really massive. And finding those players, because I know a lot of people want to say, like, well, who are you going to invest in? I don't think it's a question of who yet. I think we got to figure out who's able to do it first, who can be a first market mover, but with margin, the ability to maintain that space and actually find and build a moat. I haven't seen anyone do this yet. That's why I can't say it's this company or that company or this other company. I will tell you, though, as a sort of final point to this video, I am an angel investor. I do invest in startups. So, full disclosure, I'm not going to say any names on here, but even for the past probably, I don't know, going back 5, 6 years, we've been seeing lots of companies working on digital marketing within an augmented or virtual reality. And I can remember thinking back 5, 6 years ago and saying, like, geez, I wonder who's going to really capitalize on this, because it felt very, very early, like bordering on ridiculously too early, frankly. Really low valuations, but really high growth metrics. And if you're not keeping your finger on the pulse of what is trending, right? Virtual reality, what kind of growth rates, and let's be honest, like, it has not gone well. Look right here, like, I did a video on this the other day, but I've got these. I don't even think they work anymore, frankly. They don't seem to take a charge. So, Meta, if you're listening, they're not working. But I pulled those out because, look, the reality is, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't mind throwing those on and watching a boxing match. I love watching boxing. I watch it all the time. If I could throw those on, chill, and see it as if I'm right from the ring, that would be amazing to have the experience of being in the arena. So, hey, if you're watching and you can make that happen, I'll be a customer. I'll sign up and buy that ticket. And if you're a startup who's still watching this video, and I get the feeling probably not are going to make it to this point, but if you're a startup and you're doing something really cool in that space, hit us up below. Let us know what you're doing. We'd love to interview you and see what you're building for the metaverse and how you're going to deploy into that as well. So, sorry, a bit all over the place today. I just was watching the KO again before this and was like, you know what? That's such an amazing crack he put on Woodley and just cleaned his clock, frankly. So, with that, good luck with the week ahead. Let's pay attention to the inflation numbers. Make sure we understand the CPI data and what it's going to impact us from a standpoint of near term, because we know that inflation's here. We know it's here for a while. We just want to follow the trends and see how we're doing right now. So, with that, on a bit of a jumbled video, but a lot of ideas coming out of my head on a late Sunday evening. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you can have good things in the new year. I hope you do. And by the way, please like and subscribe if you're still here. We really appreciate it. So with that, thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for watching.